Yeah, I'm Greg Sestero here at the River Park Center in Owensboro, Kentucky, and we're going to do a screening of The Room tonight and a disaster artist presentation, which is a book I wrote about my experience making this movie, which is known as the greatest bad movie ever made.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean it. You're my best friend. Are you okay?
Don't worry about it. Let's talk about your problem.
I think there's nothing really out there like it. It's such a strange, bizarre piece of cinema, a piece of art that people haven't seen before. And so they want to break it down, they want to study it. It's oddly entertaining because it's something you can't figure out, and I think it just keeps bringing people back. I saw the movie Home Alone when I was 12, and oddly, that movie propelled me into wanting to go into film, and I wrote a screenplay, a sequel to Home Alone, and I wrote a part for myself opposite Macaulay Culkin to act in, and I sent it out to 20th Century Fox and John Hughes, and the movie never got made, but I got a letter back from John Hughes, and that really kind of was what started me wanting to go into acting. I lived in Italy and Europe for like a year, and then when I came back I started to get into like television and small roles, and then I met a very eccentric character in a San Francisco acting class, a man by the name of Tommy Wiseau. I approached him to do a scene, and we started this kind of unlikely friendship and ended up making this movie, The Room. We were roommates in LA at one point. I would come home, after hitting the pavement and trying to get work, and he'd be hanging in my door jamb from this pull-up bar that he installed upside down like a bat. And so every day when I got home, I didn't know what to expect. I think he'd always wanted to be an actor, he'd always wanted to be a filmmaker. And I think he tried the Hollywood route, the traditional route, and that didn't really fly for him. So he decided to write his own screenplay and create this kind of Marlon Brando-esque character for himself. And he wrote the script for The Room, and that he just funded it himself, and he wasn't going to take no for an answer. I had known him prior to that. I met him in the acting class, and so I agreed to kind of help him with the production side of the movie and get the ball rolling. I never planned to be in the film. That was kind of a last-minute decision. And again, it was a movie I didn't think anybody was ever going to see. I laughed pretty much through every scene. One of the things that I thought were really interesting is that everybody talks like Tommy through the whole movie. And so I laughed a lot through it, and I pictured him in the lead role, and I thought if anybody were to see this, it would be very comedic. So I just didn't think that would ever happen. I'm definitely surprised that it's been screening for this long. It really, it's kind of this big joke to me, and I get a kick out of people enjoying it. The times that I do see the audience interact with the movie, I think that's the best way to experience it. Yeah, with the whole audience. I think if you see it by yourself, you might need a gun by the end of it. The story of making the film was so surreal and as crazy as the movie is, if not crazier. And so as the movie gained momentum and more people had questions and were trying to figure out what the story was about and how I got involved, I just felt it was a really good chance for me to tell the story, not just because it's funny about the making of a bad movie, but I feel like the story behind it and Tommy's journey, this odd take on the American dream, a really bizarre tale of unlikely friendship. I felt like there were a lot of themes in there that really tied into a great story, and I thought it was a perfect chance to tell it 10 years after the film was made. I did a movie recently with the creators of 5 Second Films, that kind of a spoof horror comedy called Dude Bro Party Massacre 3. There's no 1 and 2, they just went straight to number 3. And that was really fun to work on something new. I think it's goofy, it's clever, I think it's going to be really good. And then there's an adaptation of my book that's coming up in the near future, which I'm also really excited about. So it's going to be a fun challenge to go in a different direction and try to do great films, you know, and kind of try to make up for this one.